Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification. You mentioned earlier the word fines. You were talking about rules. I do understand, the differences between, our CCNRs and the bylaws and the rules that we as a board operate by. It's funny, as I survey the terrain of issues that we as a board have faced and are facing currently as we move forward. The structure of the CCNRs, how well or how poorly they're written, that subject actually takes a back seat as far as I'm concerned to CCNR enforcement and the proper procedures, the proper steps, the proper checklist that we follow as a board to be able to try and enforce those CCNRs, whether that be fines, liens, having to file a lawsuit, God forbid. But those types of things, I must admit, and I've read the CCNRs multiple times. I know everybody on the call here has. It's still confusing enough to say what exactly step A leads to step B, leads to step C. Is this an area where you could assist NHOA in properly documenting, clarifying, communicating the steps that get you from, hey, there's been an infraction, we need a first contact, whether that's phone call, word of mouth, email, whatever the case may be, all the way to, wow, we've got an attorney and we need to take this homeowner to court and everything in between. Is that something that you can help an HOA with?
Oh, absolutely. And that's pretty common. It's like any other form of progressive discipline. It usually starts out with a written request. If there's no action on the written request turns into a written demand. If there's no action on the written demand, then the matter is brought to the full attention of the board, and the offending homeowner has a chance, and this is something that's kind of unique and new under Idaho law, then has a chance to go before the board to explain either what the homeowner is doing to remedy the infraction or why the claim of infraction shouldn't be enforced. So you have to have a little bit of due process. If after that, the board still exercises its discretion to determine that the infraction hasn't been cured, then you have to specify a time limit in which the offending homeowner should make the cure. And you have to, under Idaho law, as long as the homeowner is taking steps to cure the infraction, you can't really do any enforcement by fine. You can, however, do enforcement through other CCNRs. So, for example, if you're just trying to say you can't have an industrial shop on the property, you can go to court to enjoin the use as an industrial shop. If you wanted to impose a fine, though, for somebody who had too many horses, you'd probably have to wait and see how long it took for them to get too many horses off their property. So that's kind of a little bit of the variation about whether you want to enforce something by covenant or whether you want to enforce something by fine or penalty.
Okay. Aaron, Saber, any follow-up questions?
The process to get there is similar, which is progressive discipline. The difference is if it's just a covenant matter, like somebody operating a business instead of having a residence, you can go to court quickly on that.